Hi everybody, this is Caroline Sotheby and welcome you to our 35th anniversary of Up, Down, and Around Town with some of the friends that managed to make it here. And our show actually started 35 years ago with the intention of just going to Yak Arena because there were, festivals, and we were considered the city of festivals. Then all of a sudden it started twiddling down. But just for old time's sake, this past weekend we went on a tour to Yak Arena because there was one festival. And that was by St. Vincent Pallotti Parish, which is St. Joe's, St. Elizabeth, St. Patrick's. Now they're going inside like they've done for maybe about 10 years instead of being outside, and having rain always dampen their spirits, like Leslie will probably know, because art fair has always been a little problem that way. But anyway, just let's go to that and get an idea what they did on Saturday. That was Benny and the Jets. And he comes there every time he has a chance. And they had an area there just for the kids. And that was the earlier part of the day. I didn't think they could have that much space in there just for things for the kids, but they did. And there was another addition. Kids were actually going up like a ladder and having a good time. And of course, take a bird's eye view what was going on the other side of the hall. A lot of basket things they had there. And of course,
line dancing.
that was to be the first band, and people were starting to get on the floor and do their thing.
I recognize a couple of the line dancers there from coming to the band shell. Park. There's 2 or 3 of them there that are on the right there that always come to the concerts at the band shell and do their moves.
Yep. Yeah, that was early part of the day. Was about they started about 4:30, so they were just starting to get going on there and had a good time. Anyway, right now I got to give you an idea who's actually here. Of course, Barb is with me because, well, we've been with the program for
35 years.
Yeah. So, what do you remember about the beginnings?
The beginnings. We had different setups.
Yeah.
You had the rattan tables.
Yeah.
You split the program up because Jack would report on sports.
Sports Corner. Yeah.
You would do specials. We would have cakes, and Diane would come in and do candy, and we'd have our Christmas specials, and we did a lot of reporting.
Yeah. Of course, I got to show this, though, because this is one thing that Barb, I mean, you
Diane,
would know because,
yeah.
wait, let's go up this way. Diane actually painted this. I think it was for our 15th anniversary. Let's see. Okay, there we are. There is supposed to be you at the camera, Jack in the sports corner. There was Lori in the back.
Keith.
And of course, Keith. And you're talking about the table. I finally threw it out a couple years ago.
Oh.
Yeah. So anyway, and thinking about Diane, she had called from England a couple days ago. She wished she was here, but she's stuck in England to 28th,
Oh,
and so
for the
she'll come back later
coronation?
on. Huh?
Did she go for the coronation?
No, she went right after the coronation.
Ah.
That's the reason. Anyway, which direction should we go? Steve, you're next. What happened with you, and where do you come from?
Where did I come from?
Whoa.
Before I started
Well, he
working
knows what I'm
here,
talking about.
Well, I come from Wyandotte. I was born at Wyandotte Hospital.
Yeah.
Way back, the old hospital, right by the river. But before I started working here in 2001, I was at, I don't know what we were then. We were United Artists, we were TCI, we were AT&T. I
Yeah.
think we were actually Comcast when I left, so. Oh, I never worked for United Artists, but TCI, AT&T, Comcast, left, came here. So that's where I came.
So you pretty much did the same stuff that you were doing here?
Yes, for like 3 companies before, but my workspace never changed. We just kept getting bought out. So, yeah, but I remember seeing Up, Down, Around Town when I worked there because we used to air your show. So I was pretty familiar with your
Yeah.
show, but I don't think I ever worked on it until I was working here. But
So when did you actually come here?
It was October of 2001.
Okay.
And then I worked here until February of 2019.
All right. Don.
I'm from cable also. I worked at United Cable since 1983, all the way up until the late 90s, 97. Then I went to the River Rouge School District. But I also, like Steve, was familiar with your show from playing it on playback
Yeah.
at United Cable. And when I left, it was TCI Cable. But I've also helped you at basketball games
Yeah.
and Jack's show, local sports. And I was a guest on there, and you were often the director.
Okay.
So that's how I know you more, not in the
Director.
studio, but directing with the truck
Uh-huh.
or sometimes at the street fair, the art
Yeah.
fair. I was
Yeah,
camera
street
a
fair,
couple
you would
times for
actually,
you,
yeah.
doing
Yeah.
segments, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm glad you're still around, too.
So am I. I'm glad we're both still on, yes.
Okay, Judy.
Hi, I'm Judy Mongeluzzo, and my late husband, John, was a member of the Citizens Advisory Committee in 1981 to see if there should be cable TV in Wyandotte. And from there, he kind of brought me in. He was one of the original volunteers and was in one of the first classes. And then about 1990, I started mostly doing football games. I had done some still photography for the News Herald, and so I knew a lot about the football, and also Mountain Echoes,
Mm-hmm.
and I even remember one time we did a live election show.
Yeah. Yep.
Amazing.
Well, that was also the time that we were at the old city hall, and that's when Jack and Ferd were actually there getting the final results, forwarding all the information to the studio, and that's when Ken and Ann were broadcasting it live to the viewing audience.
Absolutely,
Yeah, those were the days.
that's right.
How we did it, I don't know. I really don't.
Yeah, we did it a lot. That, it was so much fun. We didn't really think about it. We just did it. It was
Yeah.
like second nature almost on a lot of things.
Well, just like right now we have this, I cherish that because that's when the Roseville High School band actually went for the installation. And after that, we got this nice letter with all the emblems and that from, who was that? It was Mary McFarland and Mark D'Angelo thanking us for, presenting the information across to the people because they came back and wanted to tell somebody about what they did, what they experienced and that. So that one I keep because they said we do a lot for community, and I think all of our programs did a lot, make people aware of what's going on, or the entertainment, or whatever. And I don't think we just worked as one program, because you know yourself. I mean, we were out for the art fairs, we were for the water fest, like we'll probably talk about. Anytime somebody wanted something, if it was Yak Arena or that, we went out. You guys used to come on the show. I have DVDs like that high showing, how we all gathered together, sang Christmas songs, and of course, Kevin Bedden always had this, 'twas the night before Christmas and all through the house, remember that stuff, yeah. So anyway, all right, let's get to this side. Oh, you're shuffling it to him.
Yep,
Okay,
right.
Charlie.
To elaborate on what Judy and John contributed to cable, I remember very clearly the vote came to the council, and it was 6 votes. Out of 6 votes, 5 were for having our own cable system. There was 1 negative vote. I won't mention that person's name, but he's no longer with us, but he was kind of a favorite of United Cable at that time. And he would have liked to have seen United Cable be in this city. And that kind of got me angry because we were kind of thinking, we want our own system. Everybody else is moving into cable, and I think we should have our own. And it was 5-1. And that day made us all very, very happy to have our own system. And our very first system was Carolyn and Jack and myself and a couple others that escapes me their names. And we were all doing all the equipment at that time was state of the art. And we worked very carefully and learned a lot from these machines, and it contributed to a lot of programming that we were involved with. So, and here we are today, and hopefully we can continue for a long, long time.
When you think about it, they actually, anniversary date for the cable was 1983. I can remember having a meeting with Bob Whitney at the old place with a whole group of us around the table and asking, what would you like to do if you were a producer? And my thing at that time, I thought, I got 8 kids, they're all in sports. Okay, sports. So that's how come local sports came. With my oldest son at that time would go out to the football games on Friday, come back into the studio. Maybe it was only 5-7 minute clip, but it was repeated, but it was fresh information. I just came and this is the results and this is what happened and that. Eventually, my other daughter, Carrie, and we were laughing about it just a little while ago with Andy Tangway, because then they tried doing it. And then all of a sudden, my son John took over, and eventually Dan Mowers. Now, Dan Mowers has been with us ever since that point. I mean, he's right now on Sportsline, too, with Rick, which was that, the other place. So when you think back, we had an awful lot of seniority, so to speak, because people were interested. They actually worked. They were willing to. They were family. They were fun. We had our problems like a family does, but it was still, we were here. We were Wyandotte Cable at that point. And this gal, meanwhile, she was sitting at the City Hall as a community director, right? Was that your title at that time?
Community Relations Director.
Yeah, yeah. And she started with all the things like the Waterfest and...
Trying to do an event a month is what our mayor at that time wanted, so we put them into action and did it. And the people enjoyed it.
Yeah.
The concerts in the park, Waterfest, Oktoberfest.
You brought a lot to the community.
Easter extravaganza, had to spell that out, The Christmas parades, the 4th of July parades. You're right. I think we missed like January and February, but otherwise we were busy.
Well, they used
every
to
month.
bring the ice sculptors eventually with
Yes.
the third Fridays. Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
I remember that. Yes, enjoyed
But-
every bit of it.
That's good. But you know what, though? I think because you had something for center attention, that's how we landed up going with the cameras, interviewing people. I mean, for the Waterfest, that was a whole week. We ended off, like last week, we put the 1988 boat parade. And that was the
Nice.
beginning of some fun.
Right.
For years and years.
Right. That and the Miss Waterfest contest.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Waterfest contest. Loved all those. I see those people and yell at them their titles when I see them on the street. So that's how I remember it all.
Well, you had jet skis there for
Right.
a while. And then what else? I know chili contest eventually.
Yes, that was always
And
entertaining.
he was one of the referees
Judges.
all the time
He was
too.
a judge, yeah, with those poor people who ate those jalapeno peppers. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that was something else too.
A chili contest, horrible. But they liked it. They
Yeah.
wanted it, so we tried to do everything to make it a fun time for, again, our citizens, because that's what's here, your community. You try to enjoy your community as best as possible and have them
Yeah.
remember Wyandotte as the way it should be, a good memory. A good memory,
Yeah.
right?
Right. And sometimes we often wonder where those years went by fast. Like we were asking you, well, how many years did we have the Waterfest? Because I was thinking between 8 and 11 years, and I'm not quite sure. But
I'd have to look it up, but they were all fun.
yeah, yeah. And we got to think of somebody back there. Maybe Neil can get her. She's
Jackie.
behind the
Jackie.
camera. She'd rather sit down. She said hi.
There she is.
Now,
Yay!
Jackie was here. What years were you here, Jackie?
Late 90s?
Is-
Yeah, the late
That
90s,
went
so
back,
maybe
yeah.
99.
Because I can remember you also when we used to go to Southeast Chamber of Commerce, the black tie events
Yes.
that were at the Yak Arena. She was there also too. And Marge Fugate, my God, she loved those. She would go, I think she had more of interviews than anybody else, about 10,
she did.
15 of them.
She-
Yeah, you
'cause I
remember
was always
that.
doing camera for Marge, and of course the black tie had great hors d'oeuvres and everything.
Yeah.
I'm always like, Marge, let's take a break. Try some hors d'oeuvres. I wanted to get paired with Rick Defoe doing interviews. 'Cause he was pretty good to do 3 interviews and then find hors d'oeuvres, do a few more interviews, find hors d'oeuvres. And that's more my pace.
You were aware of that too.
But yes, yeah. I would handpick Rick.
Yeah, so it's
Marge
like.
just worked too hard. She really worked
Oh,
hard.
yeah. Yeah. But I think she used to go tell him, if you're going to be there, I'll interview you. And she managed to find him all the time. But that was the fun of it because there was a lot of festivities out there. I mean, everybody was really dressed like to the hilt. I mean, it was their time to shine. And so did she. So, yeah.
Yeah, that was quite an event in its day. I think it still exists in
It
some
still
form,
is.
but it's not quite what it was.
I think it was at the Crystal Gardens. But
Yes, I think I've been to it a couple
Yeah.
times there. It's
That's
fine.
a-
It seemed
sort
like
of-
such a big deal some of those years at the Yak.
Yeah, but you know what? The Yak was very active at one time. They had probably, something every week?
Festivals.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
and anything. So it's starting to build back up after COVID. Like I said, finally at the festival. And we'll check with it, find out, keep on with it.
Wasn't Town an offshoot of another program, though? You and Mary Kenzie?
Oh.
Didn't you say
No.
the sesquicentennial?
Oh, well, that was from Canoe to You. And we did sesquicentennial year, 24 shows that year, 2 each month. And we started with getting some information from the library on all these themes on the years previous to that. So each show had their own theme. We'd have, say, hey, so-and-so, so-and-so, so, and maybe the first 10 to 15 minutes. Then we had a guest or guests on that would be related to that theme, so to update it. And, that was in here. But that's what happened, though. I think you're the one that said after all that, well, we did a show before. Why can't we just do something like this now? And so it was supposed to be a summer replacement show, and it's all your fault.
It's my fault. Yeah. I was always adding something in. Well, let's try this. Let's try this.
Yeah.
Let's do this.
But that's what made it interesting, because with everybody sort of saying, hey, come on, this is going to happen, let's go down there. Okay, let's go down. So maybe we would take the camera or not, but at least we had something to report on. And,
Well, Wyandotte was very smart with the 5-to-1 vote. They really were, because if you look at all the downriver cities, they've all closed their studios.
Right.
They don't
Really?
have studios anymore. You might have a little one in high school that they teach
Yeah.
a TV class in the high school, but you kept it alive at the community level all these years. And it's because of your show and shows like it that the studios stayed up and running. Because if nobody was watching it, the
Yeah.
city wouldn't value
Well, you
it.
got to figure, well, you guys were familiar with Faye and Roy McGinnis. She was at the original meeting, and she said, yeah, I do Mountain Echoes. Okay, so you were on there. You also were with Rich Miller on his programs, right?
And we had That's Italian, and we had Crosstown Jazz, and
But the best program that really received a lot of good comments, sometimes bad, was the city council meeting.
Oh, sure.
And just to elaborate a little more from Judy's aspect, when she was following up with the approval for the city, we completed all these classes, and then all of a sudden, Bob Whitney, who was the program director at the time, says, what kind of programming do you want to do? And he asked all of us. And I thought for about a minute or two, and I go, you know what? Every 2 years then, every 4 years now, we have an election, and you see the same names, and you go, in general, nobody knows you personally, what you look like, and they just figure, I know that name, I'm voting for that name. So I says to Whitney, when he asked me, I says, Bob, I want to put city council on TV. You could hear a pin drop. He said, you want to do what? I says, I want to put a name and a face together and show the people in Wyandotte who they're voting for. I guess we can do that. And I go, Bob, we're going to do that because we can do that. And that led to what we now have council. It's been like that since November of '88 when we first tuned in and brought it to the people at home. And occasionally we had a few disruptions where the senior lady at the time came in and threatened the mayor. And next meeting, we had a guard there protecting the mayor. So there were some times when it could have get very aggressive, but it was all part of being able to show people at home who you are, and it worked out well, even to this date.
Yeah. Well, I think with that's the reason the continuation came. Once you started having people aware who was actually wanting to be elected, they wanted to find out the results, what actually happened. And that's how come we went beyond that. I miss Ann Ronco because she was very active with that. And of course, Ken was active with local sports, with going with Jack and you, like for basketball.
We did the volleyball News Herald tournaments, and we did a lot of the special sporting events.
Yeah.
And the football games.
Yeah,
They
the
announced
football
for the
games, yeah.
football games.
Kenny also did issues in search of answers or answers in search of issues. Like, he was doing that when I started here still, and
Was
as
that-
well as the other shows. Yeah, I think Diane O'Keefe was directing that
Probably.
in my early days. Yeah, I think it maybe was toward its last year or two when I started here. It was more like a public important issue show, not like a
Right.
fun show so much, but.
Okay. You're still, though, active. I mean, they've had you at the football games and at the parades.
Yep.
And now you don't do camera so much, but you're usually audio.
Usually audio, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the advantage in getting older. Yeah, I was saying that when I first started, I was 105 pounds, and they used to set me on top of the press box with the camera for the football. You know, thank goodness I don't have to do that anymore.
Weren't you usually on the top, too?
Uh-huh. Keith, it's gonna rain. Keith, I'm up here on a metal roof. I want down.
That was a scary spot. When Jackie was program director here, I helped set up for a game once. So
It's scary.
Had the pleasure of going up that ladder or the winding
Yep.
stairs and then the ladder
Yep.
through a little hole, and it's like, no, that's not fun.
I had a chance to look at the DVD from the beginning, before we had a truck, and how they set up under the bleachers. And one of these months I'll probably put it on because it was funny. you had the old timers, so you knew who was out there at that time. And that's even when the Mount Carmel still had their high school, and they had a homecoming, you know, the floats going around. And that's lost history. That's something that people would probably like to see again. Maybe that's another show.
That's
Remember when? Or
Right.
something.
No.
But I'm not taking that one. Somebody else can. Hey, I have to, one thing, I mentioned this, but you were talking about some of the things that we were able to do. And Vicki, when she was leaving, sent a letter in this thing and told us about when President Clinton was in town.
Oh, at
And
the
we really
library.
didn't realize it. It was almost a 3-hour live program. But at that time, we weren't worried. We did our thing. We felt comfortable. And it was something that the library has a picture, and those are some of the pictures that were also in this book. Some of them that got together, and those are lost things. But we have to remember a lot of them. I have all the list of them, but I think we'll just probably say we'll take a minute or so and pray for them, because hopefully they're praying for us, okay? And that is probably the end. I appreciate you all coming. Thank you for taking your time. And next year, we're not going to worry about this, because I don't know if I'm going to be here.
Oh, yes, you are.
Oh, yeah. All right.
It keeps
Hey,
you
thank
young.
you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. And thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.
There goes the
On
flash.
Up, down, and around town. Bye now. Take care.